like, and make sure to engage in comments and share this video to your friends and story lovers, and click on the subscribe button on the screen to subscribe to Inquisco for more real and true stories like this. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who'd end up in a situation like this. The kind that people whisper about, the kind that ruins families. But here I am, standing in the middle of my own living room, my heart pounding as I hear my husband's truck pull into the driveway. My hands are still shaking, and I can't decide if I feel more guilty or just terrified. It started so simply, too simply. That's what makes it all feel so unreal now. My husband Mark worked long hours. He always had. I understood that. It was for us, for the house, for the life we built. But understanding doesn't stop the loneliness from creeping in. It doesn't stop the quiet from feeling deafening when you sit at the dinner table alone, again. And then there was Ethan, Mark's brother. He'd always been around, but not like this. He was the younger one, the carefree one, the one who didn't carry the weight of responsibility on his shoulders the way Mark did. Maybe that's what made it feel different when he looked at me a certain way, when he lingered a little too long in conversations, when he sat too close on the couch after dinner. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself I was imagining it. Then, one evening, Mark had to leave town for a work trip. Ethan had come by for dinner, just like he did sometimes. But that night felt different. The wine tasted sweeter. The laughter lasted longer. And suddenly, I wasn't just Mark's wife. I was a woman, sitting across from a man who was looking at me like I was something to be wanted. I should have stopped it there. I should have sent him home, closed the door, gone to bed alone like I always did. But I didn't. Instead, we sat on the couch, and his arm brushed against mine. My breath caught in my throat. He didn't move away. Neither did I. The air felt thick, charged with something unspoken. He turned his head, looking at me in a way that made my skin prickle. I swallowed hard, my pulse racing in my ears. "We shouldn't," I whispered, barely believing I was even saying it. Ethan exhaled, slow and steady, but he didn't move. His hand was so close to mine that I could feel the heat from his skin. "I know," he murmured. Neither of us moved. Then a sound from outside, the unmistakable crunch of tires on gravel. My stomach lurched. "Mark!" I scrambled up, nearly knocking over my glass. Ethan shot up too, running a hand through his hair, looking as guilty as I felt. My heart pounded as the front door creaked open. Mark stepped inside, looking exhausted, setting his bag down by the door. He glanced between us, his brows knitting together slightly. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice casual but laced with something uncertain. I forced a smile. "Nothing. Just talking." Ethan nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just catching up." Mark's eyes lingered on us for a second too long. Then he shrugged and walked toward the kitchen. Ethan didn't say another word. He just gave me a look, one that said we both knew exactly what almost happened, and then he left. I stood there, feeling like I'd just walked away from the edge of something dangerous. But the worst part, I wasn't sure I wanted to walk away at all. The guilt should have been enough to make me stop thinking about it, about him, about what almost happened. But it wasn't. That night, I lay in bed next to Mark, staring at the ceiling, my mind still buzzing from the almost moment I had with Ethan. Every little detail replayed itself over and over. The way his breath had felt so close, how his voice had dropped just a little lower when he said, "I know." How, for a second, I wanted to close the space between us. I turned my head, looking at my husband sleeping beside me. He was exhausted, as always, He had barely looked at me since he walked through the door. No suspicion, no questioning. Just distant, like he always was. Maybe that was the worst part. How easy it was to hide things from him. The next morning, I told myself it was over, that nothing happened, that it was a mistake, and I wouldn't let myself think about Ethan anymore. But by the afternoon, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, you okay?" I stared at the message. My fingers hovered over the screen. I should ignore it. I should delete it. But instead, I typed, "Me. Yeah. You?" His response came almost instantly. "Ethan, can we talk?" I swallowed hard, my heart thudding. "Me. We shouldn't." There was a long pause before his next message. "Ethan, I know, but I can't stop thinking about it. Neither could I." I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I just wanted closure, to make sure we were both on the same page. Maybe I wanted to hear him say it was nothing, that we'd move past it. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the truth. We met at a coffee shop, a public place, safe. I kept telling myself that. But the second I saw him sitting at the corner table, his fingers drumming against his cup, looking up at me like I was the only person in the room, everything felt dangerous again. I sat down, my hands wrapped tightly around my own coffee cup, needing something to hold on to. "I shouldn't be here," I said quietly. Ethan studied me for a moment. Then he exhaled, shaking his head. "Then why are you?" I had no answer. Silence stretched between us, thick with all the things we weren't saying. My pulse was erratic, my hands damp. "I'm sorry," he finally said, his voice low. "I shouldn't have let things get that close last night." I let out a breath, relieved. "Yeah, it was stupid. It won't happen again." He nodded, but he didn't look away. And that was the moment I knew we were both lying. After that, things only got worse. I tried to avoid him, but Ethan was always there. At family dinners, at casual get-togethers, at barbecues in our backyard. Every time our eyes met, I felt it. This thing between us. The tension that refused to die, no matter how much I willed it to. One evening, we were at Mark's parents' house for dinner. Mark was outside, helping his dad with something, and Ethan and I ended up in the kitchen alone. I was washing dishes, trying to ignore the way he was standing too close. "You're acting weird," he murmured. I forced a laugh. "I'm not." "Yes, you are." His voice was quieter now, just behind me. "Are we really going to pretend nothing happened?" I set the plate down too hard, water splashing onto my shirt. "Nothing did happen," I whispered, my voice barely steady. His hand brushed against mine as he reached for a towel. The simple contact sent a jolt through me. "Exactly," he hissed, but we both know it almost did. I turned to face him, my breath caught in my throat. He was too close. "Ethan, we can't." "I know," he said, but neither of us moved. The air between us was thick with something unsaid, something dangerous. I could hear the murmur of voices from outside, but in that moment it was just him and me. His hand lifted, hesitant, uncertain, the barest trace of his fingers against my wrist. I shivered. And then, "Hey, babe," Mark's voice, from the backyard. I yanked my hand back so fast it almost felt like I had been burned. Ethan took a step away, his jaw tightening. I turned back to the sink, my hands gripping the edge. My heart slammed against my ribs as Mark walked into the kitchen, looking between us. "What's up?" Mark asked, oblivious. "Nothing," Ethan said quickly, his voice normal again. "We were just talking." Mark gave him a look. "You all right, man?" Ethan nodded, too fast. "Yeah, I should go. He left without another word. That night, I couldn't sleep. My skin still tingled where his fingers had barely touched me. My mind wouldn't stop replaying the way he had looked at me, like he was holding himself back with everything he had. I should have felt guilty, and I did. But mixed with the guilt was something else, something I wasn't ready to name, something that scared me more than anything else. I told myself I could stop any time, that it was just tension, a fleeting attraction, nothing real. But lies have a way of catching up with you. And the worst part, I wasn't caught by my husband. I was caught by him. It had been weeks since that night in the kitchen, and Ethan and I had done our best to avoid each other. Family gatherings became unbearable. The stolen glances, the silent tension, the way my pulse jumped whenever I felt him nearby. It was torture. But nothing had happened. Nothing had ever really happened. And yet, guilt weighed on me like a stone. Not because of Ethan, but because of the other man. I never meant for it to happen. I was already walking a dangerous line with Ethan. But then there was Daniel. He wasn't some stranger. He was someone my husband trusted, a close friend. It was reckless, stupid. And yet, one night when Mark was working late and Daniel stayed behind after a dinner party, things blurred together. Wine, laughter, proximity, a mistake I couldn't take back. But I had been careful, so careful. Or so I thought. I should have known something was wrong when I got the text. Ethan, we need to talk. Now. I hesitated, my fingers tightening around my phone. Me, I don't think that's a good idea. Ethan, it's not about me, it's about you. And what I know. The air left my lungs. He couldn't mean... No. There was no way. He wasn't talking about Daniel. Was he? We met in the parking lot of a bar on the other side of town. It was late. The air was crisp, biting against my skin. Ethan stood by his car, arms crossed, his face unreadable. Okay, I said, my voice steady. I'm here. What's this about? He didn't speak right away. Instead, he pulled his phone from his pocket, tapped the screen, then turned it toward me, and my stomach dropped. A video. The grainy security footage of a parking garage. Me, Daniel, pressed against the side of his car, his hands on me, my fingers tangled in his hair. Cold fear gripped me. Where did you get that? I whispered. Ethan tucked his phone away. I have my ways. I shook my head, my mind racing. You followed me? His jaw clenched. I wasn't following you. I was protecting Mark, but now I have a problem. I swallowed hard. Ethan, please, you can't show him that. His eyes darkened. Oh, I know. Something in his tone sent a chill down my spine. I took a step back. Then why are we here? He exhaled, shaking his head. Because I have a deal for you. I stared at him, my breath catching. What kind of deal? He took a step forward, his voice low. I won't say a word to Mark. This can all go away. No one gets hurt, he paused. But only if you give me what I want. My blood ran cold. What? My voice barely worked. He tilted his head slightly, his eyes scanning my face. Come on, don't act surprised. You felt it too. We've been dancing around this for months. No, I whispered. You don't mean that. I do, he said simply. I shook my head, panic rising. You're blackmailing me? I'm giving you a choice, he corrected. I tell Mark everything, or we finish what we started. I felt sick. This wasn't Ethan, the Ethan I thought I knew. The man who looked at me like he wanted me but never crossed the line. He wouldn't do this. But the man standing in front of me? He wasn't asking. He was taking. I looked away, my chest tightening. You don't want this. He reached out, tracing a finger lightly along my wrist. My skin burned under his touch. Don't I? His voice was barely a whisper. My throat was dry. My mind screamed at me to run, to get away from him, to tell Mark the truth before Ethan had the chance to twist it. But then, a shadow moved. Someone was there, watching. I turned my head, my heart stopping cold, and my world shattered. Because it wasn't Mark. It was Daniel. His face was unreadable, his hands in his pockets. But the look in his eyes? It wasn't confusion. It wasn't shock. It was amusement. Ethan followed my gaze and froze. For a long, agonizing moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel smirked. Well, well, he murmured. This is interesting. And just like that, I knew. I had just walked into something far, far worse than I ever could have imagined. Click on the subscribe button on the screen to subscribe to Inquisco for more real and true stories like this.